Oh man, another day, another, everything.
One more unidentified flying object shot out of the sky.
Oh, it's so funny. I got an alert the other day. It was like 27 UFO sightings that are for the history books or something. And I was like, I want every DNA molecule in my body wants to click on this right now, but I know this will be 12 hours of my life.
And it's probably like 90 photos of bullshit.
Oh no, totally. And my favorite are those pages where it gives you like a sentence and then there's a next button and each page is one more sentence and you're like, okay, stop. I can't take it.
And it loads slow because it's so heavy with ads.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, I can't even see the damn photo.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is because it's been 18 minutes and I've gone 3 pages into this experience.
Is this on dial-up?
Yeah. What in the hell is going on? It's hosted on a server in like Guam somewhere.
Yeah, I made a reference to anybody under 20 won't get.
Yeah.
Everybody over 40 can still make the modem noise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think did we have that conversation here about
we definitely did,
doing like the dings and the dongs and the everything like that and the chirps and just being like, oh, that was a 14.4,
Yeah.
Like
anytime I hear that noise, I think of free AOL
oh my God.
CDs.
Yeah. It's funny. I gave a little talk today to the Hopkins School, Carey School of Business at Hopkins.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
To graduate students, right? And it was basically like a professional Q&A type thing, right? Like I'm talking MBA candidates, and it was awesome. Like, I mean, it was amazing. And most of these people are like just in a point in their life where they just want to learn more. A period, and they're just doing the super cool thing.
Oh, anyway. That's great, man.
Yeah. God, what were we on? Why did I go down this road? Darn it.
AOL?
So, yeah. Oh, AOL. Yeah. So I'm talking to them and they said, tell me about how you got to where you're going. Right. And I said, and it kind of occurred to me. I'm like, I started my company in 1999. Since then, every technology that exists on the internet, except for the internet itself, has been invented in that time frame.
That's crazy. Isn't that insane?
And I was like, that means I have been working in this field during the birth of literally everything. Except for the like
you were there for MySpace.
Yeah,
you were
like
there.
It was crazy. Like I had I had every account that's ever existed, right?
Napster.
Like, oh yeah, man.
I'm just gonna start yelling out old things.
Yeah, ICQ, man, back in the backpack. Like, I mean, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like, I mean, it is absolutely nuts to think about that. And like, then, we talked about the AI thing.
Oh yeah.
And, that has all happened in the last 60 days, right? Like,
yeah,
so
so you think about like, holy website crap. I sent you?
Oh my God. Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which was great. It's called there's an AI for that.com. It is.
Why wouldn't that
crazy.
Exist, right? What is that, Rule 34? Or is that only apply to porn?
Yeah, right. I'm only fucking irritated that I didn't think of it because I'm like, what a fucking easy, stupid idea and amazing at the same time.
And at some point somebody's like, holy shit. That domain is available.
Yeah. Why in the fuck has nobody thought of this? Like, what? What the fuck? Yeah. No, absolutely, man. No, what a great find, man. Thanks for sending that. That was,
because we're both into that shit. We'll sit there and play on chat or Dolly and
oh man,
why not do it with dad jokes and
It's funny. A group of us over email and a group I belong to here wrote essentially like 2 chapters of a book through Chat GPT in an email chain back and forth to each other, like a group.
Oh my God.
Chain. Like it was like people would take like the previous one and add to it. And like, it was crazy. Like, it was just funny. And I was like, this is just a bunch of dudes in an email chain over the course of a business day. Can you imagine if you like sat down with
and actually did it as a writing endeavor? Oh man.
Well, it's funny. I'm reading this thing right now on the Fadiman experiments from the 60s about, he took 48 or something. I can't remember the number. People who had legitimate problems, like hardcore problems that they were faced with professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave them 100 mics of LSD.
Yeah.
And within like something like 48 hours, 98% of them were solved. And
there was only like 2 left over or something.
Yeah, but within a week, I think it was 4 days. And again, I'm just getting into this, so like I'm murdering the details, I'm sure. But within like a week, and I do want to say it was 4 days, the remaining problems were completely solved. And what I found interesting about it, and I definitely want to talk about this on a show sometime, but is that the data was compiled in a way like, you know, we've seen this a million times. Like, you can't really do research on sort of the more esoteric activities of life, like taking LSD, right? Like, it's really difficult. Like, did you come up with that painting because of LSD, or was it just your time to come up with a great idea?
Was it lying half dormant in your consciousness or something?
Like, was it, what is it? It does correlation equals causality, like, kind of thing. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. And so what he said was, we're going to come up with all these rules, and I'm reading about it now, so I don't know what all of them are, and I'd love to talk about this at a different time. But essentially, they were quantifiable, each one of them, right? Like, they were like, no, we need to know that this is a professional working in this field. They have every right to want to solve this problem. They get paid to solve.
And weren't they all PhD?
Yeah, they were all like very smart, like very accomplished. And these were, you know, and you had to have been working on it for like X number of months or more.
And be stuck. Definitively stuck.
So they went through all of these like vetting criteria. And, you know, it's funny and sad funny and sad in a couple ways, but one, funny that shit happened in the 60s, and and here we are in 2023, and it's like as more relevant than ever, right? But it only took us the entire time.
Well, you know, and it's funny because like at that time, right, there was this anti-hippie pushback, like, let's return to conservatism, you know, and it feels eerily similar. You know, like we've got all these new technologies coming out. We're starting to talk about psychedelics in a way we hadn't before. We're looking at research back from the 50s.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're like, oh shit, this was all quality. And now we're like, what do you mean that like the women can't get abortions? Like, I thought that was done.
I thought what
do you mean that like we don't have separation of church and state? What do you like? What do you mean, Christian nation?
Yeah, and he actually, I think one of the criteria for the inclusion criteria for the study was like, is this problem going to matter in 100,000 years? Nope. Fine, move on. like not. This isn't like
if you can't figure out the most efficient way to put peanut butter on bread, that's not.
But I love. But I guess the interesting part of where this is all going now is that, you know, you got all these fun AIs that are going to help us get like some answers to these things faster and faster, right? Like, I mean, we're in a spot now where it's just going to get going real quick.
I mean, at this point, it's the exponential curve. What is that technology used to?
That was Moore's law.
Moore's law, but we're blowing the curve off of that too.
We're fucking. This is like more in an exponent or in a logarithmic.
Yeah,
you know, like this is like a crazy more. Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of cool, man. I mean, but so going into kind of what we wanted to chat about today, right?
Yeah.
Like, these are all sort of like fancy sciencey things, right? That like, you know, that are going to take years, if not decades, to really find what they're good at and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But back here on Earth, in the here and now, you were part of a pretty cool conversation recently, or at least adjacent to.
I was at Maryland's House of Delegates hearings, and I was there for one thing, but you got to sit through everybody else's bill,
right? That sounds exciting.
And the
like a colonoscopy, exciting.
Well, you know, and then you never know who's coming in there.
Sure.
Every citizen gets to speak their mind if they so desire.
That must have been magical.
You know, some of the best and brightest, and some not so much.
Yeah. Some of the rest.
some of the ones that you're like, oh, you got out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's Tuesday and at noon, and it would only make sense that you would have time to do this.
and the nature of the bill, if we can start talking about it, was a single individual, and this is how our system works, proposed the bill to permanently make daylight savings time the regular time.
Yeah. No, breathtaking. Now,
breathtaking.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the fun part to start out with.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that guy? Like, I mean, seriously, like, what in God's
I can give you a profile.
Yeah, I mean, what
we can look up him as the sponsor of the bill too.
Yeah, I mean, what the actual fuck is wrong with people that this is something that they are spending time on? I mean, actually funny. I kind of take that back actually, because like when we pried into it, it would seem fairly fairly
it's
important.
Surprisingly a healthcare issue at the end of the day.
And I need to really emphasize surprising.
Well, so let me preface this with this was the only dude in support of his own bill.
I mean, naturally.
And his whole argument was nothing more than, I don't want to change my clocks anymore.
Which is the only logical answer to a guy proposing this in the first place.
I mean, look, he had free time on a Wednesday afternoon. He was in Annapolis. I don't know how this happened.
No, he was, absolutely. But you would expect that a very likely cause of a person fighting this fight is because they don't want to change their clocks. Like, on the one hand, if you're hey, Matt, take some guesses about the guy who brought this up, I'd be like, it's a guy who doesn't want to change his
watch. He was wearing a suit. I was surprised by that.
Wow.
I figured he'd still be in his jammies.
It's his wedding and funeral suit. Wedding, funeral, and proposed ludicrous bill in Congress.
I will tell you, I was not expecting this hearing to go that long. But the opposition was armed to the teeth with good research. And there is a national organization promoting going permanently to standard time.
I love everything about this argument. It's fantastic.
They only give you 2 minutes. I heard arguments for a good 30, 40 minutes.
Wow. Let's peel that back. I mean, let's lay a couple of them out there.
They were the articulate, researched group, and surprisingly,
now hold on, just to be clear here, they're the group that advocates switching back and forth.
No, they do not want to switch back and forth.
Oh, so the group that was well researched is the don't switch back and forth.
Let's dump daylight savings time altogether.
Interesting. Okay.
And they said, they gave some history on it. And yes, you hear like, oh, pre-industrial, we wanted to, make sure that we were, our kids could get home and whatever it was. There was some things that, it didn't really seem that scientific. If a farmer wants to get up at the ass crack of dawn and start plowing, he's going to get up at the ass crack of dawn, whether that's 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. So, the
because everything just slides forward. Or backwards.
And it's arbitrary. The sun's going to come up when it comes up. We picked the time around when the middle of the day was and the middle of the night was. Great. You got 12 hours on each side based on, how our planet rotates around the sun and how it tilts. That's how long day is and how long night is. And it seems completely reasonable to keep it like that. Now, this research group started going into the science and health implications of switching to daylight savings time, even just the one season on, one season off kind of thing. And I was like, holy crap. I knew about the red light exposure, and if you're not outside, because we've talked about red light therapy, and basically we're mimicking that same spectrum that comes out of the sun. But a lot of this was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that.
Well, and the thing that kind of thing makes me wonder right away, and as crazy as this fucking adventure sounds, there are some things about it that are actually make sense, right? Like, for example, would we be so obsessed with red light as a modulator of other deleterious health conditions if it weren't for the fact that we were put into a deleterious health situation by the inclusion of this daft
all of this, I mean, human beings can't get out of their own way. You know, like I've said this, and I think I've even said this to you. Most of the services I have at my office, if you were outside more,
you wouldn't need them.
I would cut boom, I take 3/4 of my office away.
Yeah, right. But I mean, the same thing with a lot of stuff, like a lot of this little toys, even a treadmill, right? Like you get that, so you don't have to like run around for hours. You could just,
which is crazy because you can literally go outside.
You can knock
go
off
outside. 3 or 4 of my services.
Right.
I shouldn't be saying this. I'm a horrible businessman.
I'm gonna reach
the
wrong number.
You need to come in to me. By the way, here's our discount code at redlighttherapy.com.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's funny. Like it does beg the question, like, are we fucked up because we're fucked up, or are we fucked up because we made ourselves fucked up naturally? Now, if I'm just putting on my devil's advocate hat here and my super hippie hat at the same time, I would say, I think I'd say, hey, we have evolved with a deep rooted circadian connection to the world itself.
We are tied to the earth, whether you're wearing a grass skirt and singing Kumbaya in a forest smoking a joint,
right,
or whether you're on Wall Street trying to fuck the little guy.
Correct. We are all connected.
You're all on this rock.
Yeah, and well, I mean, not only are we on the rock, but we are all interconnected. Now, you can go a whole bunch of different ways on this one, right? Like you can kind of jump into the universal mind kind of thing, that our brains are just antennas to a universal consciousness. You can,
very Jungian.
Yeah. You can also say that, like, we're part of a recycling energy that kind of just ebbs and flows. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do it, but like the reality is, whatever you believe is the truth. Like, we are connected, whether we like it or fucking not, right, to this planet. Like we are,
and that
locked.
Is so counterintuitive to the American individualism
For
model.
Fuck sure.
And people will die on that hill, and it's like, bro, you drove here on a road.
Yeah, right.
We wouldn't have that if not everybody was using it.
Right, and that's just like, if you look back, it's funny. You look back on things like the sperm whale oil lamp, right?
Oh, ambergris.
And all of a sudden, like their major advertising campaign was light a house for a penny. Like it was like super. It was playing off of people's being like, this is a luxury to be able to put light in your house, but we're going to give it to you for cheap. Anybody can afford this, right? Like, so since we started doing this shtick, we have lived on the sense that marketing is the fucking way to make it better, right? Like,
it is.
I mean, but so like, I don't know, like, is it? Now, look, I don't give a flying fuck about daylight savings. I'm perfectly happy.
I was surprised. People were ready to die on that hill.
It's crazy. I love it though. So like, let's talk about some of the specific health things that they were sort of pushing up against.
Because they did make some good arguments.
So what? Lay the first one out, because I got a couple that I found as well.
So I think we should save the big gun for later. But they actually pointed to an increase in auto accidents.
Right, and right off the bat. I had heard that like years ago. I always assumed it was urban legend, to be honest with you. I mean, this is one of those facts that did make it into sort of the cultural shared,
the nebulous of
right.
the things that we would be come across. Yeah.
And so I really honestly chalk that up to urban legend. So they're saying that auto accidents actually went up.
They actually go up, and it does it every season when we spring ahead.
It's crazy.
Like clockwork.
Now, I know that seasonal affective disorder and depression and all this go skyrocket through the roof.
And that was their number one cause, is what they said, for SAD, seasonal acquired depression. Was the number one reason was that lack of exposure to the red light in the early morning hours.
So that's the urban legend that I was just about to say.
Yeah.
I always thought it was an urban legend that it was because you and I are both in the Northeast. There's diminished sunlight, even if it weren't for the time.
Totally.
And
that's true too. And one of the delegates brought that up. Well, what about people in, outside, say not necessarily all the way up in the poles, but up at higher altitudes or lower altitudes, longitudes, or lower latitudes where they're getting less sun. Yes. Guess what? They consistently report lower levels of energy, more depression, more diseases. And, one of the experts gave this perfect example. Why do you think everyone retires near the equator?
Right.
Less change.
Yeah. Less change. And actually, it's funny because, we're really the only country that does,
and that was brought up too. And failed experiments. Russia tried it for 2 years.
Okay.
They couldn't keep up with the depression.
No.
They were like, oh, crap, everyone's like sadder.
Right.
And they noticed a rise in, that's the big gun one. Should we just mention it?
Yeah, let's.
Because it's bonkers. They noticed a rise in cancer.
Which I think is absolutely crazy because you kind of, and that actually, what scares the shit out of me about that fact is that we still constantly discount the environmental contribution to cancer. And I know that's it's not universally true.
And we're not even talking about a train dumping, with vinyl chloride in the Ohio River. We're talking about hey, you didn't get enough light.
No,
You're
I know, but
houseplant.
Every time exactly. Every time a celebrity gets cancer or somebody in their family gets cancer, you feel like the first PSA they do is stop leaving your water bottles in the car to heat up.
Yeah, that's one form, but
I'm sitting there going, oh my God, can we, what the fuck? Have you not?
And that's valid, but
no, it's not that it's invalid. But it's we hear the same fucking drum every single time, right?
Yeah.
It's never different. But the grain of sand in that is true is the fact that look, there's shit all around us that we are just completely fucking ignoring. And that's hard enough to manage. Now, let's just take the pro side here for a second, right? And I'll put on my tinfoil hat for this one, but if I was for this, my biggest point of arguing for it would be of all the things that we can't control, we can control this. Just stop doing it.
And that's the thing, right? Because why? All you have to do is go, we're not going to change the clock anymore.
I was coming back from Vegas last week for the trade show and sat next to a guy at the bar. We had a beer together. He was in big equipment sales. He said he just left 10,000 acre farm, some fucking massive, ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's massive fucking farm. Every tractor and field piece of equipment that they have on their land has no cockpit. It literally, you can't drive it if you wanted to. There's no fucking steering wheel on it. And it's all controlled off of an iPad or a laptop.
Isn't that insane?
So here's the thing. You don't fucking
You can do that in the middle of the night. You can do it noon.
You don't fucking need the goddamn fucking connection to this or reduction in time.
You do not need to hear the rooster crow and get your boots on or anything.
No. Let the fucking little AI bot feed the chickens, and you could run this fucking tractors on your iPhone. The fuck, And now look, not every farmer is going to be like that. I get that, but
they're also not going to be able to afford that equipment. That is big aggro right there.
It's big aggro. But here's the thing, though. I got a friend who is he's a wealth advisor. He's got a client who's got a bunch of farms, or he bought a farm in his retirement. Now, he's not poor, right? He was not poor, but he was also not a deca billionaire, right? He wasn't big.
He wasn't I can't spend this quick enough. Yeah.
Right. Now, he went out and he bought GPS controlled equipment, the same. Now it's got cockpits from what I understand. And like, I haven't seen it, but it seems like it's regular tractors with GPS control on it, right? Similar problem to solve. And that wasn't like crazy expensive. But my point is if you have tractors out here that have no cockpits and are 100% automated, yes, today they might be the toys of the elite farmer class, but 10 years from now, it's everything, right? Like there's
exponential advancement of technology is going to knock that down to a consumer model. Hell.
And like even right now, you don't need to do crop dusting anymore because you got commercial or residential, or I'm sorry, hobbyist grade drones that can run around and, you know, with a specially equipped camera on it, do the same thing but better because they've got heat maps and all kinds of ways to look at the field that are different than how you would look at it. But even so, you're buzzing an electric drone around a field instead of a fucking biplane. You know, like, you know, with a fucking tank strapped to the back.
DDT.
Yeah, right. And you're just like napalming the place. I mean, come on.
Oh, these apples look great, man.
Yeah,
sure, they'll fucking kill you.
See how fucking yellow these bananas are? Hey, don't touch the bananas without gloves. Just don't do that.
You got to wash them off first.
Yeah, with bleach. Like, you know, you can't.
It's a cleansing process before they hit the store.
Well, it's funny. My kids used to make fun of me because before I let them eat grapes when they were kids, and they've literally made me stop doing this, so I can't anymore. But I would soak them for like 3 hours in a crazy salt and vinegar bath, like apple cider vinegar. Yeah, and like, you know what? It completely fucking kills whatever the fuck is on those things, right? And I was like, and then you rinse it off in a colander and you're good to go. But I would throw it in there. I'd mix it up in a giant salad bowl. I'd throw it in there, and then I'd go like take a couple conference calls or something. Then I'd come back and I'd rinse it off. It wasn't like a laborious. Yeah,
it wasn't like you were sitting there watching it.
Scrubbing each grape with the toothbrush.
But I know plenty of people, and they even have like, you know, in the grocery store, they sell like a vegetable wash, which is mostly vinegar.
Right. No, it's basically vinegar. I mean, I essentially did the same thing as that wash. I just was obsessive about it. but like,
you know,
I don't want some fucking biplane spraying shit on my field if the only thing but then again, you're still going to get it probably because, I mean, what all they're doing instead is saying this side of the field needs it, this side does not. So at least you know, you're
and you know, like I was talking like to a smaller farmer. We go to like one place that does berry picking near us, right? They've got peach orchards, apple orchards. You go seasonally for different things. And even there, they were like, hey, look, do you spray this? Look, we only spray this and we follow these guidelines, and no, we're not organic, but
right.
You know, and it was a good enough compromise for me and my wife. You know, it's like, look, well, we're going to wash these off before we start eating them. But,
you know, there's so much of this stuff is actually like tough to really wrap my head around with, because on the one side, the crazy, you know, guy in me is like, fuck you, it's organic, or fuck off, and like all this stuff, you know. But on the other side, you have to kind of skate a line too. It's like, and not that, I mean, this is like, look, the human bias is a magnificent creature.
Oh, it's huge.
I can spin all kinds of webs here, man. But what I'm saying is, like, when I look at like it, I'm like, all right, like grapes, for example, right? Like they're soft and fleshy. And in my mind, and I know there's science behind this part of it, but like the fleshier things will soak it in faster and sort of keep it longer, right? So like, whereas harder things like nuts or something that's got like a hard shell, a lot less.
Yeah, even like things like avocados,
right.
You know,
things that are covered in a watertight seal.
You said bananas; those are thicker too, generally.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know somebody from Guatemala whose family worked in the banana business for a long time, and she said,
"Oh, she's part of the Banana Republic."
Yeah, she said there was these giant warehouses, and like they had to be picked super green, and they'd throw this chemical on it and whatever, so that they had it down
ethylene oxide or something like that.
Yeah, they had an exact science. Like they're like, if we get it on a plane at 12:01. We could have it in a Kroger by 11 o'clock in the morning, and that's right when it's going to turn yellow.
Did I tell you about? Speaking of bananas, did I tell you? I think it was like not George Zimmerman. Oh shit, that's the wrong Andrew Zimmerman, the bizarre foods guy, or Anthony Bourdain. He went to India, right? And he's walking through a farmer's market kind of thing, right? There's all these people selling everything. and goes down one lane. It's all fucking different varieties of bananas. And everyone's buying like there's little red ones and big green ones, plantains and all this shit. And then there's a pile of ones that look like the freaking Chiquita bananas. And there's just some dude sitting there smoking a cigarette, reading the newspaper. No one's fucking talking to him. And they go, why is this guy not selling anything? He goes, oh, he sells the ones you guys like in America. They taste like shit. It's like, yeah, of course, that sounds like us. We would pick the crappiest variety of banana.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you look around, like we have the crappiest potato variety. Like we've got, we've got the crappiest carrot.
Peru's got 400 varieties of potatoes.
When you go down to Mexico, it's funny. Like Mexico's got this weird monocropping rule that you can't do it really. Like, I mean, it's very like
that seems reasonable.
Well, so what's interesting about it is they use crop diversity to be their pesticide, so they will use complementary.
That sounds reasonable too.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like this, so they'll use like, hey, we know this one brings this bug, which actually eats this bug, so we'll plant some of this too. And it's, I don't know how perfect the science is, but I do know that this has been going on since Aztec time. So there's got to be some fucking.
I think somebody figured it out a long time ago, and you don't need to fuck with it.
Which is why it's funny because they for a while, and I wish I could remember where I found this. For a while, imports of American corn tortillas were banned in Mexico because
I don't blame them,
because they were like, yeah, whatever the fuck they're doing over there.
I need to get back down to Mexico.
Yeah,
because I'm sure, like there's a tortilla by my office. Wow, how white can I be when I say that?
Super.
But basically, they'll sell you tacos, but they sell kilos of tortillas, and I'm like,
who needs a kilo of tortillas?
Well, it's a stack.
I know,
about the size you get for, if you go to the
size
grocery
of a
store.
Kilo of cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a kilo of whatever.
Yeah.
but
hey, the kilo of cocaine. Come on, remember that night in Florida one time?
The kilo of cocaine.
Yeah.
We're wandering, but I mean, I was like, these are the best goddamn tortillas I've ever had. And it's probably made with shitty American corn, but because they were freshly made and all that stuff, they were amazing. Yeah. I can't imagine how much better a taco or the tortilla itself tastes in Mexico. Like
it's probably amazing. Yeah,
I got to get back down there.
I think there's a lot of things like this that we're just kind of dumb, and just pulling it back to the daylight savings time thing, right?
Yeah,
like that's a prime example, right? Like we invented this.
Somebody figured out what midday and midnight was a long, long time ago, and it didn't need to be fucked with.
It just didn't need to be fucked with. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we invented this problem. This was a solution in search of a problem, right? And as it turns out, it's now a lot of problems in search of we
know better. We're going to control nature.
Yeah. But it is funny because I think this is what we're really bad at as a species, right? Like I think that there was absolutely, I got to give it the benefit of the doubt, right? We created a batshit system that defies the human condition and everything we know to be true about the world.
It's an insult to Mother Nature.
Yeah, we literally fucking, took Mother Nature, spat in her face and said,
Fuck you. We're getting up before the sun.
I know you've been at this for 4 billion years. We've been at it for 100,000 years. Fuck you. I got this. We
only started fucking with it in the last 5 or 6,000.
Yeah. I'm like, so who the fuck you think you are? Yeah, no, exactly. Right. Like, and here we are now. That being said, I have to assume for purposes of this conversation and my own sanity that at some point there was some, albeit possibly flawed, real logic behind making that decision. Like we did something that should never have been done. I assume we only were able to do that with valid cause, right? Like at one point.
I think is
that optimistic?
I'm more jaded than you are. I'm like, we're fucking idiots.
No, but okay, so let's talk.
There was some money exchanging hands. And somebody was like, I want this. Why? Because I can give you money.
Right. So so I'm curious, do you think, well, of course there was money. I mean, the whole reason we did it in the first place was tied to essentially the commerce of agriculture, right? Like, I mean, that was more or less the only reason, right? Like, so whoever was in charge of those lobbies, obviously I think would be happy about that. But where I'm saying we were bad is this. Let's just assume for purposes of this conversation that there was a valid reason for it.
Okay.
Right. That was then, right? That was a long time ago. Now, when we know that we're looking at farm vehicles, which are the impetus of this in the first place, have
obsolete.
Well, the underlying assumption here,
self-propelled ones have replaced them. Let's say
the underlying assumption here is that humans have to actually be the farmers. If that assumption has now been challenged by something that is legitimate and forecastably affordable, do we still need to hold on to this ridiculous thing? Like, I mean, it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you know, it's like, look, if you can press a button on a screen at a McDonald's and get your food, does it matter whether or not that farmer is lacing up his boots at the crack of dawn and walking out if the machine can do it as efficiently?
Well, moreover, let's talk about that. Who the fuck wants to time their day to get up at the crack of dawn? Even if you're good at it, like even if it's fine with you,
and even if you enjoy it,
and even if you enjoy it, do you want to be bound to that forever? Like you know, do you want that to be like the only thing that's real?
You know, put a little garden in your backyard,
right? But hey, listen, I would look I mean, candidly, if I knew that I had a robot workforce to run my fields, I think there's something incredibly raw and primal about being a farmer, and I'm really attracted to that. I think it's a very cool.
It sounds very masculine. In certain ways.
So I can see what you're saying there, and I absolutely agree with you.
Like you're out there just working the land,
right? But what I would add to that, and I think where I was coming from, was it feels as human as it gets. Like
I'm making my food.
Masculine energy, feminine energy notwithstanding.
Okay,
it's like it's just literally at the very core of being a human being. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just cool. That part is very cool. But I just don't need that to happen at 5. Like, can we make that happen like a little bit later in the day?
Can I go out there for 10 for like a half an hour and be like, yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, and listen, I'm, you know, if my grandparents were alive right now, my grandfather would absolutely be fucking shaking his head.
You lazy piece of crap.
You lazy piece of shit. Yeah. Like you unbelievable piece of human garbage. Like
you can't even fix the tractor when it breaks. You know, what are you doing?
Well, that's another thing. Did you hear? I don't know if you. I don't know why I follow this, but I find it fascinating. John Deere just lost a class action lawsuit about now.
Oh yes, yeah, they lost it in New York State, right?
No, they lost it nationally.
It's national now. Okay.
So it's funny because I had read that article, and it's funny. I'm a big believer that the universe has got a.
Well, they're saying that's going to go for everything else now too, iPhones and.
Yeah, that's certainly where people would think
want it to go. Yeah,
I don't really know that it will necessarily, but I can see it.
And this is a right to repair lawsuit,
correct? Right. And so, like, what was interesting about this, and this is why I think it's funny. The universe has a very funny sense of humor. Like I read this article because I've had this percolating interest in technology my whole life. Okay. Like it's what I do for a living. It's what I'm passionate about. But where I find technology most interesting, it's okay if I have a conversation about tech with a bunch of other tech guys. You know, if I'm in a meeting with a person who runs a tech company and she tells me some cool shit that they're doing, and I talk to her with like this crazy like passion about technology, that makes sense to me because she runs a technology company. Like no set. But when you can touch a technology to the everyday human who's not in that position, who doesn't run a tech company, and it impacts them in a meaningful way, I light the fuck up because that is just like super interesting to me. And when I see bananas cutting edge technology being applied to farmers, which is philosophically about the least technology savvy group you could possibly imagine. In fact, it's probably the butt of jokes.
I'm You know what? I hate to say that. Like, you know, the agricultural degrees that are out there, I mean, they're very science-based now.
Well, so now
and
they
I'm
are.
assuming the technology, oh no, but back in the day, it's here's my shovel, let's go.
Well, yeah. And so for years, since the agricultural revolution happened, 12,000 years ago, something like that? Like it's been a minute, right? Like, you know, like we've been
we've been farming for a little while.
Yeah, we've been farming for a bit. So like this is central to the evolution of our species. Like we would never have been where we are if it weren't for farming. Like this is like goes back to almost square one.
Yeah, we'd be running around picking stuff up and killing things.
Right. So my point is that when we have technology that have come that far down the road that we're basically doing that, like I think we have to basically pause and say, look, whatever we're talking about here, folks, we've got to invent a new set of yardsticks to measure this stuff. Because honestly, why can't we? You know what? You know, the only reason we probably will never change daylight savings time is because those same fucking representatives are just too lazy to sign the fucking bill to do it. They're like, listen, guys, twice a year, set your fucking clocks and just shut your fucking mouth. Like, look, do we really have to waste our time on this? Can we please just move the fuck on?
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't matter how many health studies they came out with, because if you look at the list of things, it is not inconsequential. We talked about car accidents and cancer. We touched on it, but like depression, suicidal tendencies, I mean, all mental health things, big fucking nuclear bombs when it comes to fucking daylight savings time.
It's insane to me because like, you know, all of these things by not like 1 hour is what we're talking about. Just that little shift, and we're that sensitive to it, whether or not we live in the city or we've surrounded ourselves with nature. You know, you're not immune to it. That 1 little hour.
Yeah. And so like, look, I'm not going to go to Annapolis and, you know, champion this cause because quite frankly, I don't care.
Well, you know, it looks like federally daylight savings time is going away, correct? So
is it really? I don't even,
I think so. I think we got 1 more.
Oh, and then it's out the door.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, so I didn't know that part, but like
I thought that was like some weird.
So let's just say it does. Like our lives aren't going to change materially at all.
No,
but I think that the fun takeaway of this whole thing has been we do kind of live our lives with these underlying assumptions, right? Like they really are all around us. And sometimes you don't even think to question the underlying assumptions themselves. And this guy came out and said, hey, look, what? Any reason we got to keep with this?
Oh, shit. They wanted to make the U.S. Senate approves bill to make the daylight savings time permanent. Ugh.
So it would stay at that time, or the switching would stay?
You would stay daylight savings time.
Forever?
Starting permanently in 2023. I don't know if it made it through the House.
So wait.
The Senate approved the measure. The House
so does that just mean
pass the bill?
So does that mean we just slide back? We just don't ever go back to standard time?
We never fall back, but there's health issues with doing that too. And it almost seems like the government is like intentionally trying to keep us depressed, unhealthy.
On what plane of existence does that not make perfect sense to you?
I mean, we're easier to govern, and certainly we're not intelligent enough to see through that.
Do you mind if I put on my conspiracy hat for 5 seconds?
I mean,
Tom's like, I have it tattooed to my face.
Mine doesn't come off. It's permanent.
So look, psychedelics, cannabis, fucking red light therapy, any dumb thing that we talk about on this show, all of that is way cheaper, if not free, compared to pharmaceuticals. There is a very, very tangible reason to keep us fucked up. And so I'd like to believe that the companies of the world are not that fucking blatantly
I don't know, but like I will say, I can't tell and this is not a conspiracy thing. I can't tell when that politician is just as dumb as they look.
Yeah.
Or if they've literally just are so evil that they will allow people to die over money.
Well, they're not people. They're rows on an Excel spreadsheet. So like they're not really people, right? Like, I mean, row 18 isn't.
But corporations are. Sorry.
No. But corporations are living things, so they deserve all the rights. Yeah, sure.
And if I kill everyone in the corporation, that's just one murder, right?
Right. Right.
There's going to be a knock on this door one day when we record, and I'm just going to get hauled off.
You know, I know we need things. Let's just get real crazy for a second. I know we need things like rules around like time zones, right? Like we need somebody above us.
But even the time zones make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, when it's this time here, the sun has been up this amount of time for the day.
No, it makes sense. But what I'm saying is, like, I understand that there needs to be smarter people than the average bloke out there to like tell us that this is a time zone. Like, this is like, I get that.
And they do that, but the government decides to do whatever the F it wants anyway.
No, I get it. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I do think though that what we're going to find is that the world is moving into a spot where local authority is going to start to sort of be more influential, because like some people, like, look, what says that a town or a county in the middle of a place that has to observe daylight savings time can't be like, you know what?
Well, we do have states that have done it. None of the U.S. territories do it. Most of the rest of the world doesn't do it.
Yeah, but they don't do it. They don't not do it because they're U.S. territory, you know, going against the system. They don't do it because culturally
they never did. Yeah. No, and you're right. And there's certain states, I think Arizona, there's a bunch, and then there was a bunch that were voting not to do it. You know, we're not going to change the clock anymore.
Yeah, but you know, I think that's going to be the right answer, right? Like, there's going to be some states that say we don't believe that women should have an abortion.
I feel like at this point it's going to almost be like weed, where it's like, all right, everybody else is doing it. Let's, you know, it's like, all right, you know, okay, so, you know, Massachusetts did it. They were worried about higher crime and more car accidents, and none of that happened.
No,
you know, okay, let's all give it a try.
Yeah, no, none of that happened.
None of that happened anywhere. I mean, that was the big scare. That was the big scare. All this gateway drug talk, all this, you know. So,
well, what about Portugal when it went everything legal, and they're like, oh, Portugal's going to be a fucking cesspool.
It's going to be people like, dying in the street with heroin, and they're like, no, actually, use went down.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Oh, by the way, all those people going to jail, none of them are there now.
None of them are there. You know, there's no overdoses. We're not plugging up the court system.
Not to sound like crazy here, but like, I have thought about that before, right? Like, our economy seems to be ever so fragile, right? Like, it seems like almost anything could topple
even
us, right?
More so now than before.
Right. So here's my question. And I think this is valid, although it sounds horrible as a human being to say, but like, prisons, as corrupt as they are and as stacked as the system is against minorities, against, you know, socioeconomic differences, you know, I mean, we have all kinds of problems in that system. But what I'm wondering is like, if you did a Portugal thing, right? Like, a lot of those imbalances are centered around drugs.
Right? Like, absolutely. Right. Nonviolent offenses that normally include drugs.
Right. And as you dance around that ecosystem, cocaine, heroin, like, you kind of don't really want to be caught with that, right? Like that, like, shit is bad for you if you get caught with like a bunch of heroin on you, right? No bueno for you. Portugal, you could go down to a store and buy heroin. You could also get a needle exchange at the same place and enlist yourself in rehab and see a drug counselor about questions you might have about responsible use, or see a counselor about cessation of use. Like, you've got all kinds of options at the same exact location. And that is where I think the rational thought comes out. Like, this is,
and I'm sure their overdose rates fell too.
I don't quote me on this, but I'm almost positive that they were like all but eliminated, because there's really no reason. Like, I mean, it's the same thing with when when medical came to Maryland, right? One of the best parts for me about it was like, I don't care if it was double the cost of street weed. I now could walk in and get exactly what I'm fucking looking for. I have a COA on record.
It's clean. You know what's in it.
Right. Like, I have no question of its provenance. I have no question of its chemical constitution. I have no questions about this at all. Like, nothing, not a single thing. If you, who are a very good friend of mine, were to hand me a bag of weed and I didn't know where it came from, I would not have that same level of confidence.
That's all right. It would probably just be oregano anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, not that I don't trust your choice in weed, but you're not me. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, and that risk tolerance in that degree. Like, well, do I know this guy well enough to be buying weed from him? So actually, I was out at that trade show, and there's a company that I am really working hard to get a partnership with right now, but they've got a Party Responsibly line coming out.
Wow,
it's fucking awesome! Like, I literally cannot wait to help this company take off. A couple cool products, one of which is a nail polish that girls can put on.
Oh, I've seen articles on this.
And they just dip their finger into the drink, and if the nail polish turns one color, it's got fentanyl in it. And if it doesn't, I mean, it's fucking about the coolest fucking technology.
That's amazing. And I feel like I hope it's to market before my daughter goes to college, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, fuck men.
No, I mean,
no. That's fucked up.
But so that's sort of, yeah, in that example, you're 100% right. But here, let me show you an example that isn't really a fuck man conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just don't be assholes.
Fentanyl. I have a close friend who is in his 60s, is heavily involved in a underground lifestyle in New York City. Right. So,
okay.
Very avant-garde, very artsy. He is a recognized human canvas.
Yeah.
So
okay.
he gets used as a canvas at high-end, very private parties where there is all kinds of things going on. And it's super, super like hush hush and like very hard to figure out, but he makes a very good living doing this. And but as a result, knows a bunch of people that are very responsible, but still in sort of that alternative lifestyle thing. Maybe it's clubs, maybe it's private parties like these. But like, you know, when you are introducing drugs like cocaine, he had two people that he was very good friends with die in the same day.
Jeez.
One in San Francisco, one in New York. Both of them were accidental fentanyl overdoses. Now, these are all people in their 60s. They didn't die of a heart attack. Like, it's not like they blew a fucking valve, while they were, sitting around aging, right? Like, this wasn't one of those situations. And when I told this story to my kids, I was like, look, here's the thing. These people have been in a lifestyle for decades. like there's no story you can there's no wool you can pull over these people's eyes, right? Like they are absolute fucking professionals at what they do. And it slipped through their defenses and ultimately killed them. I am not fucking around when it comes to people I love, my friends, my family, you know what I mean? So when I heard about this, I was like, holy fucking shit, are you serious? So that's one of them. There's a test strip that looks like those things you use to test the water in your hot tub or your pool.
Yeah.
Like, you just dip it in and it tests for like 3 or 4 things. And I'm like, I want to buy a carton of these things and send my son and daughter with these to college and be like, you take however many drinks you think you're going to have that night, multiply that by the number of friends you're going out with and grab that out of this fucking thing and just hold on to this all night long. Just fucking test everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care. Look, my preference is you don't do snort lines of cocaine at a club, but if you do,
This is the safer way to do it. Yeah.
Do it fucking here, or promise me right now you will not do it.
Yeah. When they talk about harm reduction, reagent kits are super cheap, but they're not exactly something you're going to be able to whip out at a party or a club.
Listen, I just candidly, I have done cocaine in my life. And one thing that I always was insistent on is that I was not sharing any kind of delivery mechanism for my nose, because with the vascular nature of a nose and all the ability to transmit disease from one person to another, I was like, of all the things I'm worried about,
you're gonna get STD from
I'm the fucking guy who's like, nope, gonna use my own thing. And
I brought my own straw.
Yeah, and they all fucking, every single person I've ever told this story to, or been, I mean, not told it to, but like been in Congress with at the time of this exchange, they laughed at me like incessantly, and I'm like, listen, laugh all you want, man. This is like a non-starter for me. This is not that important for me to not do this. You know, it's like in my mind, it was kind of like akin to like somebody asking you to like just have sex with a prostitute without a condom just because it's a Wednesday and you feel dangerous. I'd be like, nope, hard pass.
I'm gonna roll the dice tonight.
Yeah, nope. Like hard pass. Like, but you know what? Look, a healthy dose of fucking crazy when it comes to like your personal health,
keeps you alive a little longer.
Keeps you alive a bit longer, like, I mean, but yeah, so they sell testing kits of all different colors and sizes.
That's pretty cool, man.
And I'm really looking forward to selling it because like it's just crazy. But that's one of those things, like when we talk about all this crazy technology upgrades, there's nothing more central to health than avoiding toxicity.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't poison yourself. Yeah.
Right. Like, so like, when you talk about, we talk about all these crazy technologies, wearables and all this stuff that's like super hardcore science. How about just like, don't eat the shit that makes you sick? Like, let's just start with that. That's pretty fucking simple, but it's actually a relevant conversation now. I mean, fentanyl is a wacky drug. I can't imagine why people cut their drugs with this, because it costs money. Like, just give me the cocaine without the fentanyl in it, and I'll buy more cocaine for me because I won't be dead.
Yeah, and, I think it's more like when they start mixing it, because it's an opiate. They start mixing it with the heroin, and that's I'm going to give you a different hit. I just, oh man, I've seen so much stuff. Everybody should get Narcan training too. That's free.
I saw that the other day that it was free, and I was actually thinking about sponsoring like like an afternoon clinic or something, like in a neighborhood.
It's not a bad idea. You can get the supplies free even in the city. I think there's an online training, and you listen to that and they'll send you the kit.
Yeah, I don't think it's super hard, and I'm pretty sure that you can actually get grants and stuff to do it, hand it out, and like do the training and like, but I think
spread it around. Yeah.
It's just crazy because like, look, I'm very not afraid of drug use, both recreationally, experimentationally. Like, I'm okay with it. But like, that comes with a huge asterisk. Like, I don't want it's not,
you don't want it done in a back alley.
You cannot do, like, the things that I do are so super calculated and structured that like, it's not like I go to a club and bang out some rando drug, from a stranger and be like, hey, take this, you'll feel great. I'm like, oh, how about you fuck yourself?
What pill is that? Oh, it's a blue one.
You're like, that
sounds good.
Yeah, nope. Hard pass. Yeah, like I'm like, no, it's just crazy. That's why people are like, hey man, I'll smoke you up next time. I'm like, no, it's cool.
we're good.
Yeah, we're good. No need. No, no need. Anyway, cool, man. Well, listen, I think closing words for me anyway. I think this guy was a lunatic, and I think it's fucking awesome that you got to see that. I'm super jealous.
I would have been home a couple hours earlier had I not. So
I'm so jealous that you got to be, like, if I could take a day off of work and listen to that nut job present, I mean, like, come on. I mean,
I don't, it's funny because like the previous one was on an invasive blue catfish.
Sure, why not?
And I'm like, all right, this makes sense. Let's talk about healthcare and all this other stuff. And Makes sense. Seems to be a theme.
When a guy like the catfish dude comes up, like, I mean, do people are people rolling their eyes, or are people like, oh,
no, like the delegates were kind of into that one.
Really?
They were like, oh, I've had snakehead.
Wow.
They're like, oh, then you're gonna love catfish. You know, it was like, oh, cool. We can like just fish the hell out of them because they're not supposed to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Fucking bash them against a rock. Fuck them.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You know, I was like,
oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I you know, I don't want to do that anymore.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So so what have you been up to other than that? Anything fun?
You know, man, I'm in the middle of so much business education now.
Right. You're in that class. I love it.
I cannot even pick my head up, and I wish I took it 22 years ago before I ever set foot in a clinic.
You don't wish that.
I would have screwed around. I wouldn't have gotten anything out of it, but
no. You don't. You learned it at the right time, man.
I believe that too. Yeah, I do.
Come on. But I agree with what you're saying. The spirit of what you're saying is right. I mean, I think all of us, when you learn that you could have not pissed away $100,000 of nonsense at some point.
I used to say I walked through the backyard and like a cartoon when they have rakes all over the place. Yeah. I stepped on every one of those motherfucking rakes and got split right in the jaw. You know, what are you getting into, man?
I am quadrupling down on brain science research right now. I'm fun. This book is in kind of like fever pitch mode now. And I'm about to go into an official interview cycle with people.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like a real, like we've got the formula worked out now, and I want to like start doing it. So if you know anybody who I can talk to for that, but it was basically like, you know, a version. You were on one of the sample ones, right? Yeah. I kind of got it dialed in a lot more now, and the science behind this stuff. When this is all out and done, I mean, we definitely will talk about this, but man,
yeah, awesome.
But the short story for now is the science behind this it's one of those things that we have had all of these answers for so long, but they've been presented non-linearly and no one has stitched them precisely together.
Yeah.
And the more I dive into this and the more we're like laying it out, the more I'm like, you know, this actually is 100% unique. Like literally
no one's thought of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like nobody has done what we're doing right now. And it's getting like very interesting now. Like it's
fun.
Yeah. So I'm work in progress, but I'm hoping by the end of this year that this project can find its termination.
That's awesome.
I'd like to wrap it up in this year, but yeah, doing it. My co-author, who you know, is a great partner for this project, this kind of project. So
yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, it's I just got to hang on through the process. Like it can be trying because it's like, you know, it's making you no money. It's taking up nothing but time. Like it's like, you know, it's like it's kind of one of those things where you're like, all right, I'm too busy today, but like, you know, trying to stay with it every day. Like, okay, I'm going to give it 10 minutes today. I'm going to give it 15 minutes today. Like,
yeah,
anything
you got,
anything I got. Like, you know. So, but anyway, cool, man. Well, I actually think I wish I really am going to be interested to see how this thing plays out because, like, I laugh. I'm like, we could be having this conversation to our grandkids, going like, you want to hear a fucking crazy story when we were kids?
We gave everybody cancer by messing with the clock. Like, what?
Yeah. Say what?
Grandpa, you're going nuts.
You guys are fucking crazy.
Grandpa's got dementia. No. Seriously, we fucked with the clock. Like, now we all got cancer.
Yeah, that's fucking great. Yeah. Oh, man. All right, man.
All right,
you have a good one.
You too. All right, bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.